of Christmas Eve. It's been quite a season, Quite a season. A lot's happened. I haven't said much for a few weeks because a lot's happened. A lot of painful stuff happened. Scary, difficult. I'm resigning from my job after I get off of this. Unexpectedly, for severe retaliation. I love my job. I don't want that to happen. But what happened was insane and unsafe. And processing all the emotions and physical consequences of everything that happened. And yet, I see that it is a sign that things are going right. That sometimes when things look weird, like they're falling into place. And when I first started this channel, I did a lot of spiritual study, but then I started to feel more like a teacher and too much on that. And I wanted to let myself just be a messy person, but just student as I worked it out. But I want to get back to it. And my understanding is changing, and my ability, I think, to teach and share. So I'm just going to read a little thing this morning. It's called The Warrior of the Meek from the Shambala, the Sacred Path of the Warrior. Meekness is the first dignity. Meek here does not mean feeble. It just means resting in a state of simplicity. There's obviously the famous biblical line when Jesus says the meek shall inherit the earth. And a lot of people don't like that. Especially in America, we're not known for our meekness. And it can be easy to misunderstand. So I thought because this is really where I feel, well, this is where the power is. The meek shall inherit the earth. We got to figure it out if we want to inherit the earth, So it just means resting in a state of simplicity, being uncomplicated, and at the same time, approachable. I've never thought about approachable as a quality of meekness. That lands. And uncomplicated. Whether others are hostile or friendly, the warrior of meek extends a sense of kindness to himself and mercy to others. Grace. I love the phrasing, the warrior of the meek. The last thing you would ever think of someone who's meek is as a warrior. And so this framing is going to be really good for me because I do feel like a warrior, but I know that meekness must be mastered to be of any use. We've got plenty of warriors doing all the other things. So since no one's trying meek, I figure, why not? Okay, so whether others are hostile or friendly, the warrior of the meek extends a sense of kindness to himself and mercy to others. So right there, we're interrupting the cycle we see all day, every day right now. They're a jerk to me. Why'd you do that? Well, they did it to me. Why'd you do that? Well, they did it to me. So now we're saying no matter how someone is to us, we offer kindness and mercy. Altogether, your mind is not filled with ordinary preoccupations, and you are never seduced by trivial situations. Okay, we have a little ways to go there. This is because your awareness allows you to refrain from activities that dim the vision of the great eastern sun. Therefore, you always remain meek and well-disciplined. This is very important, and I get this now as this journey. This is talking about your awareness allows you to refrain from activities that dim the vision of the great eastern sun. What is that talking about? It's talking about being in alignment. It's talking about whether you want to look to God or source or light, that we always want to focus on that. And we are unclear what that means. We think it means the book or a song or the concept. That's not what it means. It means what makes you feel good. And that has been so lost in religion and faith because we think somehow feeling good is bad. And that's so odd because a loving God designed us. In fact, it says that God is love. And what we don't know is when we are feeling really good, it's always because we're flowing love or God. That's the one literal statement you want to take in the Bible. God is love. That means when you're feeling love in your heart, you are experiencing God. That's why it feels good. So, by focusing on things that never dim our light and keep us feeling good, happy, hopeful, filled with potential and joy and excitement because of what we're thinking about, right? We remain meek and well-disciplined. The principle of meekness has 3 stages. The first is that because the warrior is modest, his mind is never bloated by poisonous arrogance. I don't think in the West we really understand this comment of modesty, but we'll continue. Modesty does not mean thinking of yourself as tiny or small. Oh, good, he's going to elaborate. Modesty here means feeling true and genuine. Ooh. Interesting. You know, I never thought of it that way. Therefore, the warrior feels self-contained with no need for external reference points to confirm him. Okay, so you're modest. And what does that mean? So much more useful, rather than modesty as a very strange word, to think of it as being genuine, true and genuine, authentic. So the first requirement for meekness is authenticity. When you feel true and genuine, and I'm getting that, that's what makes me feel really happy. It's not when I'm acting out of fear, it's when I feel in alignment with my integrity. And that I get is true or genuine, and I understand how that's contributing to my happiness. Therefore, the warrior feels self-contained, meaning unconditional in their beingness, with no need for external reference points to confirm him. So in other words, it's not about what is happening outside of me. It's not conditional living. Part of the modesty is an underlying brilliance. Part of modesty is an underlying brilliance. Being self-contained, but shining out. The warrior's awareness shines out with tremendous inquisitiveness, a keen interest in everything around him. How funny that modesty is curiosity. And that's why coaching is so powerful. And curiosity about someone is, I love it. It's delightful to learn about people, and people love to share themselves when you're curious. You begin to see things as natural messages rather than as reference points for your existence. So you're looking for messages. I've started to do that. I get that, like, okay, that's a communication. I'm beginning to realize, interesting, rather than as reference points. The difference between ordinary inquisitiveness and that of the warrior's path of meek is that the warrior's awareness is always joined with discipline. Therefore, you don't miss anything. You see every detail. Such disciplined awareness is clearing the ground in such a way that the universe begins to become part of your vision. I got to be honest, it's really weird. I'm reading this because I didn't pre-read this. I just opened this and I literally was just going over with my husband a whole concept for coaching at a website with a concept called Gen Sense. That has to do with using all your senses. Like, this is so weird, to evolve your awareness. That's exactly what it's talking about. It's talking about a discipline, and discipline's kind of a bad word, but what it really means is you're using all of your senses, which is what I was going to do, to keep yourself focused in alignment, right? Clearing the ground in such a way that the universe begins to become part of your vision. So you're able to stay in alignment more of the time with this sort of awareness, this more keen awareness in your mind. I didn't kind of realize I was working on a Buddhist concept quite like that. So this is fascinating. This is so helpful to realize why what came to me is impactful for people, but it makes it a little more accessible than a Shambala book, right? Buddhism. The second stage of meekness is the expression of unconditional confidence. The analogy for meekness is a tiger in its prime who moves slowly but heedfully through the jungle. I have never heard an analogy for meekness being a tiger. Have you? Wow, that puts a different spin on meekness. Who moves slowly but heedfully through the jungle. In this case, the tiger is not searching for prey. He is not stalking in the jungle, hoping to pounce on other animals. Rather, the image of the tiger expresses a combination of self-satisfaction and modesty. The tiger walks slowly through the jungle with mindfulness. But because the tiger likes his body and his bounciness and sense of rhythm, he is relaxed. From the tip of his nose to the tip of his tail, there are no problems. His movements are like waves. He swims through the jungle. So his watchfulness is accompanied by relaxation and confidence. This is the analogy for the warrior's confidence. For the warrior of the meek, confidence is a natural state of awareness and mindfulness in the way he conducts his affairs. I love this. I didn't realize confidence could be meek. You kind of think of it as submissive. I had it as submissive, not confident. This is so helpful. The third stage of meek, and I get it. I get when you begin to realize and take that step back from impact of events and taking things so personally, that there is that neutrality that lets you have that relaxation and confidence. Like you're not threatened. You're just looking at, well, what's the world bringing me today? The third stage of meek is that, well, and also the more you realize you're in control of everything that happens and everything is happening as a result of your own thoughts and feelings, it's an upside down understanding compared to what we've been trained. But as I'm really getting it, and it's taken a lot, but I'm really getting it, you begin to realize that your interpretation or conversation with reality is different because you realize it's emanating from you first. So you're looking for feedback in a different way. Rather than people to approve of you and like what you're doing to maybe get what you want, you're realizing you're driving a conversation on an energetic level, much far behind all of that sort of surface level noise. Okay, the third stage of meek is that because there is no hesitation, the warrior's mind is vast. Oh, hesitation. Hesitation is a no vote. I hesitate. Conflict in the mind, back and forth, right? Engine on either side of the train. Pull me this way, pull me that way. This is important. And it's in a different language. It's really working for me right now. Because there's no hesitation, the warrior's mind is vast. His mind is uplifted and sees beyond the limits of the sky. Vastness here does not come from seeing a great future in front of you, expecting that you're going to be perky and outrageous and inscrutable and finally realize the greatest warriorship of all. Rather, vastness comes from seeing the greatness of your own spot, your own particular place. Right? You are not the vastness. You are still your own little point. You realize that your basic state of mind is no longer an issue, nor is your relationship to Shambala vision and the great eastern sun. So both ambition and a poverty-stricken mentality are overcome. Both ends of the stick. Serving the other master. Vast mind also comes from sharing the vision of the Jwalas. You actually are able to jump into that vast and powerful ocean of magic, which may be painful or pleasurable, but nevertheless delightful. The fruition of meekness is that because the warrior possesses extraordinary exertion, he is able to accomplish whatever purposes or objectives he is trying to fulfill. The sense of exertion is not speedy, aggressive, or heavy-handed. Like the tiger in the jungle, you are both relaxed and energized. You're constantly inquisitive, but your awareness is also disciplined. So you accomplish every activity without difficulty, and you inspire those around you to do the same. I love this. This is so good. The warrior of meek has abandoned gain, victory, and fame, leaving them far behind. I didn't know what I was doing. Everyone's like, you're insane. Why are you doing it? Why are you doing it? He's abandoned gain, victory, and fame. You are not dependent on feedback from others. The other reading I was going to do this morning was going to be on Treasure from Heaven. I'll do that tomorrow. Then it would go so well with this because you're not dependent on feedback from others because you have no doubt about yourself. When you're going for the rewards of other people's accolades, that's all you ever get. That's what the Bible says. That's your reward. But it doesn't feed you because you want to have no doubt about you. That's a real reward. There's nothing in gain, victory, and fame because it's external accolades. We're all chasing the one thing that like we can't escape and won't do for ourselves. It's so weird, right? Self-approval. But you have to know who you are to not doubt yourself, not who other people think you are. And that's where it's different. You do not rely on encouragement or discouragement. That's where I want to be. That's the real point of power. Therefore, you also have no need to display your valor to others. Self-respect is a very rare occurrence in the ordinary setting sun world. But when you raise your wind horse, you feel good and trust yourself. Therefore, because you respect yourself, you do not have to depend on gain and victory. And because you trust yourself, it is unnecessary to be fearful of others. So the warrior of meek does not need to deviously trick others. Therefore, his dignity is never diminished. Because you can only do it to yourself. The only person you can take from is yourself. The only person you can give is yourself. And I mean that energetically. Whatever you're doing with others literally comes back to you. Your heart, where your heart was at. So the warrior of meek does not need to deviously trick others. And so his dignity is never diminished. Isn't that funny? We think that if we get deviously tricked, our dignity is diminished, but actually it's the person who did it to you. So meekness provides vast vision and confidence. The 4 dignities begin from this humble and dutiful but vast vision, which at the same time sees the details with a sense of meticulousness, right? It's like you're so special. You're a special snowflake, but you're the same kind of special as everyone else. You're also in a snowbank and no one can even see you specifically. So it's the integration and balance of those 2 sides, right? Or letting them go all together, like it says, and then who you really are is what matters, and it doesn't need to be defined in those contexts. The beginning of the journey is this natural sense of fulfillment that doesn't need to beg from others. I literally just opened to this today. That is kind of shocking because I'm realizing that the first 1.5 years of this journey was that. That has to be done first before I'm going. And this was always sort of a jumping off place and a development place. I wasn't really sure what this was for, but more and more I'm understanding with everything that's happened in my personal life and real world, behind the scenes in this journey, that's exactly what was happening. Because that's the first thing you need. And it says at the beginning of the journey is this natural sense of fulfillment that doesn't need to beg from others. That's why happiness was so hard to find at first. Because it has nothing to do with being attuned to anyone else. It's being attuned to yourself. And when you've lived as an empath or caring or trying to alleviate suffering of others, we completely neglect our own sense of fulfillment. That doesn't require much. That's the funny thing. And that's what they're getting at here. It has to do with how you discipline your mind, what you think about, and how you think about what you think about. And all those things are skills that can and need to be developed in order for us to find fulfillment. The main issue going on in the world right now is that everyone is begging for fulfillment from others. Places, their job, money, things, sex, drugs, news, politics, blah, 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 on and on and on, right? Starbucks. But there's this natural sense of fulfillment and satisfaction that doesn't need anything from anyone else. And that also puts you in an incredible position to be in relationship with them because they don't owe you anything. You don't require anything from them. You free the people in your life to be in relationship with you because you're fulfilled on your own and you're just spending time with them because you dig it. That's freedom. With that, I'm going to go have a little bit less hesitation about who I am.